Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. I'm your host, Nate Weitzer here, filling in for Josh Lander, who's out in Vegas for a little R&R. But I've got my friend here, Will Otto, former teammate, a connoisseur of the clutch, an NBA fan, a seer of the PER, who's going to jump in and give us his best bets down from Rhode Island. So we are both on the East Coast, folks. Take that with a grain of salt as we go over this CELTICS-KNICKS Game 4. We also will have the Wolves-Warriors Game 4 to break down for you in a separate video. And as always, we'll be bringing you these every weekday. Everything's completely free, so feel free to like and subscribe so you won't miss a video here. But so that being said, both Celtics fans, Celtics absolutely got right in Game 3. Will, what do you expect here in Game 4?
Amen, they did. So I've got, for the first pick here, I've got the C's to win by between 1 and 10. See that plus 155. I think we saw in Game 3 a little bit of regressing to the mean positively for the C's shooting. They're now, with a blowout, they're at a point differential after 3 games of plus 19. And Game 4 today between Denver and OKC, you kind of saw a similar thing. Two teams that they're going to be in a dogfight, and you got that Game 4 where it's just like, it's in the trenches, it's a single-digit game, and I think you see a similar thing in C's-Knicks where the higher seed, the favored team, wins, but it's a little closer this time around. Both teams are kind of figuring each other out.
It's interesting because I feel like the Celtics in Game 3, their best defense against their crunch time struggles was just like, we just have to like continue to bury them. We will ignore the score. We have to be up by 30. Like this 25-point lead isn't even safe. Like Joe Maz is like, hey, hang on, timeout. Timeout is down to 24 because they just were so awful in the clutch in those first 2 games, and all the past seasons like reared their head. So are you implying that they can get over that hump and get back to, being a championship team that can win close games in the playoffs?
I am. I also think that I'm going to go with a little bit of law of averages, that you blow 2 20-point leads, you learn something, and you get yourself into a place where I think they're the better team. I think the better team is going to win some close games, and I'm a little bit conscious of game at the Garden, but we've seen this C's team in the playoffs be better on the road than at home. Can't figure that part out, but they historically do that. So that's why I like them as favorites. I think the opening line I saw had them at was -6.5, something like that. Yeah. So I kind of feel like that's the final. It falls somewhere in that close to the spread.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there that we're talking road Celtics, not home Celtics, where the energy is just like so weird that especially if they start to blow a lead, that they just cannot perform down the stretch. But they could certainly win a close game here, and that's why you're getting the good odds, because you've seen crazy variance the first couple games where they're like, who would expect a close win for the Celtics at this point?
Right. Yeah, can they do it? I think.
But close game, that means I like Jrue Holiday. I mean, we're going back on this pod. Will, we are mad about Jrue. I'm going to go over 13.5 points and assists, which is still sitting near even money here. I'm not touching the rebounds because he is locked on Brunson, and that takes you out of position. But as far as, scoring in games 1 and 2, 13 points per game, team high 5.5 touches for Jrue. Also 7 potential assists, team high assist to pass ratio. Still got his 4 assists in just 25 minutes and with the same assist to pass ratio in Game 3. And now the ball is popping for the Celtics. So assists are just in general going to come by when instead of watching Jason Tatum take yet another step back 3. So, I mean, if Drew's getting 4 assists when the offense is what I think Tim Legler called like an abomination, like multiple talking heads were like, Zach Lowe was actively upset at the first
two games. And I understood it. Yeah.
So anyway, we get Jrue back. We get the Celtics of last year in the playoffs where he averaged 16 and 4.7 over their final 12 playoff games. Just a completely different playoff performer versus in the regular season. So, I mean, why not back Jrue and assume Peyton Pritchard doesn't just like come out with his hair on fire again and force Joe Maz to play him the entire game?
Yeah, I think that you see at the beginning of the game when you go back and tape in both Game 3 and Game 4, the Knicks are relatively comfortable with Jrue getting shots early, and you see that Joe seems to Missoula seems to go away from it, but these are really good looks. Like he is catching the ball in really good spots. And for a guy that is that much playoff success and clearly has a level of athleticism that he was putting on ice during the regular season, like he's still got the ability to get into spots where it's either a quick dump off to one of the bigs. He's got a little bit of that. It looks weird, but that sort of 8 to 10 foot jumper, like I really like the way that he surprisingly is one of the guys who's most consistent in sort of getting to within 8 to 10 feet and making stuff happen. And as we know, without Mitch Robinson out there, there's just not a lot of resistance at the cup. And so like, I think that I really like the idea that he's creating enough offense that 13.5 is very, very attainable.
Yeah. And what do we got for your second pick here? Going with some props.
All right, so you did preface this. This is Celtics homerism. All of those things are true. All the accusations are correct. But I've got D White. It's four or more made threes. And what I like about that is his shot chart right now it's pretty ugly. He's 7 of 25 on above the break threes. So bad percentage there, but he is getting a ton of looks. The Knicks are basically conceding that shot, and he's been a little shot happy there, but I think some of those are really coming in the flow of the offense. League average on those shots is 35%. So if he just starts to tick up a little bit, he's getting enough looks that those are going to start falling. I think, you said that there is the chance that the C's are just going to try and run away with the game, hit a ton of threes early. I think we've seen that when things are going well and when things are going poorly, they're taking that shot. And the Knicks are not scheming to take that away. White is a guy who they kind of have a plan for the Jays, and then White is the guy who benefits from that. He's their third. He's taken the third most shots this series. And without KP as the consistent pick and pop guy at the top, it's a lot of shots for D White. I just think he's a good enough shooter. He's proven himself to be a good enough playoff guy, big and ready for the big moment, that I like him to finally get one of these games where it's 5-6 made threes.
Yeah, interesting season data is where Porzingis is out, Derek White is like 1.3 more assists per game too. Like his touches go way up. He's going to be in those spaces. I mean, I guess we're not chasing the Al Horford turn back the clock game, but both those guys are going to have to be in those spaces, right? Because Porzingis is, from what we can tell, like resigned to like 3 5-minute stints of mediocre basketball at this point. So I mean, getting them up makes sense. Derek White shooting like 15 threes a game every time he plays the Knicks. If you wanted a little bit better plus money, I mean, him to lead the game in threes, I think I saw at one book is like plus 150, plus 170. Over like Tatum as the next favorite. And then this guy, Jalen Brunson, who hit 3 threes, which was even money. And I think people have been hitting that pretty hard because they're seeing what I'm seeing, which is 7 straight, 4 in the regular season, 3 in these playoff series, where he's actually shooting better from 3 than 2 against this team, against the Celtics, who didn't even have Drew Holiday playing at the height of his powers in all those regular season games. And now like, he's just like, well, my midi isn't really going well. In this series, he's shooting 38% on 2s, 38% on 3s, 3.3 3s versus 4.7 2s, pretty close to what we had in the regular season there. I mean, he started to hoist in that Detroit closeout game as well. Most notably separating from Ausar Thompson with a ridiculous move that shows like he's going to have to put his fingerprints on this game, because suddenly Boston their insane 3-point volume is coming home, and you have to match that. You cannot get out mathed if you're the Knicks at home. So Brunson's going to have to shoot from 3. He's surrounded by 3.5, 2.5 shooters, I guess, in the starting lineup. Like, I don't know how you stack them up. It depends which Karl Anthony Towns shows up. But like, he's the guy who has to have the ball in his hands. He has to shoot. And Boston's defense, suddenly rim protection was fantastic, even with Porzingis in spot roll. But they're just so good against the ISO. They're so good against the pick and roll. Most of that is just Drew being at the point of attack. But in these playoffs, they're dead last on handoff plays.
Hmm.
75% opponent effective field goal percentage. So maybe Brunson just comes curling around, is able to get his looks that way. I mean, he's gotten about 9 up every time in the series.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better at both the step back and when he does occasionally get a shot with his feet under him. Like the three just looks a lot better. That's an eye test thing. There's not all the numbers in the world, but he also has a little bit more space. I know Cat has been more of a factor from two in some of these games, especially in was that game two, where Cat was just like, I'm actually going to be a big guy and go and get offensive rebounds, and I'm going to go do damaging stuff to the C's. But I still think that they end up with a lot. It's a little bit similar to D White. There's just a lot of possessions that are like Jalen has the ball with under 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and Tibbs is not. While he could, he's not going to the Brunson Cat pick and roll that could just be money stuff at the rim, and so you get a lot of attempts. And Brunson's proven to be a good enough shooter, especially in these playoffs from three. That like I do like that. If there's one guy who I'm looking at to be probably our game leader for threes, it's probably one of the two guys we just mentioned.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if I would bet that with Brunson necessarily. I just think the number's low enough that you can bet it on its own. Maybe Brunson to lead the game in scoring because the Celtics are suddenly so balanced that they, I even thought about like Tatum under 27.5 points, but Celtics still win because like that was the recipe last time out. It's like, stop shooting so much, man. Like move the ball. Not to oversimplify it. But that is all the time we have for you here in this edition of Celtics Corner. At least we got one Knicks pick in here. Stay tuned for Warriors and Wolves Game 4 broadcast as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.